Okay, I think we should start. How about that? And then for those that join later, that is recorded. So what do you
Sounds
think?
good, Cam.
Ready to go?
Away
Okay,
we
welcome
go.
everyone. Thanks everyone for turning up today. So how to keep your innovation budget in uncertain times, which we are all in. I hope no one's playing COVID-19 bingo, so that I probably and hopefully don't say unprecedented or any of those words throughout the rest of the time. So let's move on. So about us, so just really quickly, Impact Innovation. We're trusted experts that work with a number of groups of businesses in the field of innovation and then technology commercialization. So welcome to you all. I always hate this part, but it is an important, I think, to just very quickly to know who you're hearing from today. So I'm Cameron. I'm the APAC North General Manager for Impact Innovation. And yes, have got the COVID-19 beard happening. 20 years assisting businesses that are from listed companies, research organisations, not-for-profits, and some significantly large Fortune 500s, and all around helping them turn ideas into products, services, and also into impact. So, yeah, I hope today we'll also have some Q&A and questions. So, love to hear from you along the way. We've got some housekeeping, so you are muted. Please type your questions into the Q&A box. And if you've got any technical issues, we've also got Jen here on the line, and that's her number, or contact her through chat, however we can, so that we can help you with those technical issues. And welcome. Right, so what we're going to cover, really, well, we're nearly through all of the welcome. We're going to do measuring, articulating, streamlining, and aligning your innovation system and your innovation practices to be able to help you survive and to really make sure that you continue to get budget. And we do have at the end, a helpful process, I think, around our innovation system with a small quiz. So let's get into it. So innovation, so the first one, innovation metrics. So this is an important one, measuring, having some knowledge or some information around our return on innovation investment. And the most important one that I would say is to define value of your organization. So what is that value? What is going to create the impact, the wow, that people can see the innovation team, the innovation unit, and the activities that you do for what they are, really a part of the engine room and part of the survival of your organization. So making sure, though, that you don't do that, you don't arbitrarily make your defining value, making sure that you're actually looking at how that aligns with your organization's strategy. Then making sure that you can even do things like capturing spend, because it's not just one issue can be that it's people can look at the return on the spend that the innovation team has, but there's a lot of other activities that are out there that could potentially be under innovation, that there are other people that are trying new products, that have gone out and purchased a new asset to try and solve a solution. And so understanding that there's maybe even some bleed, some leakage in these figures, that there could be a much larger spend in this organisation than what people recognise. And so really important if you can capture that, to then show your importance, because if you can capture and manage that better, then it's an amplification of actually your impact and your return. So that next point then, what does success look like for your organisation? Again, capture and report on that. And that's all that is, just really understand that, so that it's not looking at maybe metrics of how many hackathons you've done, how many pizzas have been eaten at some of your amazing ideation sessions, how many post-it notes have you killed. They're nice metrics to have, and they're good when we're first starting, because we may feel that we don't have a lot to show for our activity. but really making sure though that we're communicating back around what that might look like, that we trialed something, that we actually maybe were able to impact somewhere along the way, that somebody found just one element of saving an FTE, one person's job. Maybe it's even taking 4 or 5 hours out of one person's week, to make sure that you start to report on those, because that's really what's going to be really sort of honing in on your value, not just measuring and reporting on activity. And then timeframes. Timeframes are a really important one that we need to look at, is because depending on where you are in the journey, depending on your organisation, what's their willingness to invest in the innovation team and invest in you as the innovation manager? Are they looking at 3 months? Have they a longer vision? Are they one of these more visionary businesses that are saying you've got 36 months? But if you don't know your timeframes, if you don't understand some of the internal pressures, it's quite an important oversight. And it's an area where, again, if we're understanding that as in a return on our innovation investment, and we know the timeliness that we need to be able to be working towards, it's easier to get budget, because you can actually be meeting the expectations of that organisation. Happy also to take questions. So then moving down into innovation metrics, we've got the direct costs, the hard costs. You can just be capturing all of those costs in an activity, but also making sure you're measuring the indirect costs, the time, the opportunity cost. Whom else are you actually calling on to help you in this? Yeah, and it could be that there's been a lot of cost beforehand, and so maybe other project teams were running out and duplicating. There were 7 or 8 people across the organisation that were running and trying to see what's next over the horizon. So maybe even your return on innovation investment is saying that bring it in-house, bring it into our specialised unit, that we are able to look over the horizon once to source and see what's out there, and then be able to report that across a number of business units. So suddenly your return on investment is that you're saving maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars throughout a larger organisation in actually being a repository of knowledge and adding value for all of your different business units. Then the ROI, the targets. So is it money? You could be reporting on skills. And I know some of our clients have moved with us, and they've said that they're now moving through the maturity within their, innovation maturity within their business, that they are now starting to see that everyone coming on board recognises that the innovation team does make an impact in the business, and they're now wanting to improve in the skills. And is it skills at a management level, so that you're actually being able to show uplift on the understanding of what innovation is and the better ways that we can use it? So report on growth and skills development. Is it new products? Is it just functional, the number of new products that are coming out the other side? Or is it that there's a shorter list of internal challenges, that people aren't complaining every day about the same internal challenges 3 years on, that maybe you're actually starting to move some of those off the desk, which can be a really important issue too, and can also be an area in a large organisation when you move those internal challenges, that they could actually even be opportunities to commercialise your idea. Because if you're in a field where a large organisation, maybe there are others with exactly the same problem as that. So there can be hidden internal value. And then with the metrics, understanding with every activity you're doing, but also within the unit, what are you wanting? Does the organisation want 20 times what they spend? Do you need to see that? What are the actual physical returns? What do you need to see so that you can actually report on something? So we can report to say that we are actually meeting our targets, not just we had an event and everyone loved the pizza. I think it can be a really important process to actually start measuring that.
Cam, we've just had a question come through. The question is, who do you consult when you're setting those innovation metrics for the first time within the organisation?
If you can higher and wider, I think is the tips that I would have, because It can even be you certainly need to have the board or the management team understanding that and getting you that information. I think that's important, so that initially when you're starting, it's got to be above you. So if it's the CEO, somebody that's saying that they want to embrace innovation and understanding what they mean by that. In time, though, as the maturity grows, it can start to be that you can ask the rest of the staff what's that about, because then you've got internal champions that say, well, you helped Fred down the road save him 3 staff member positions. I want that for mine. So it will grow and change as people understand and see the impact of the innovation team. But firstly, because it'll be from above, making sure that you've got their definition, and maybe even the executive team in other business units, because initially you will be taking money from their budget. Everyone will see you as a competitive business unit until you can actually report on return on innovation investment and show how you're solving problems for other business units. So hopefully that helps in solving that, or at least an idea of how you might be able to get everyone on board and give you a touch point of what's important to everyone. Then articulating the value. So this is an important process to go through. So moving in, so again, this is this area of how do we define innovation in our organisation now? And it really does change over time with the maturity. What do we want to see? And it might be, I really need a new product. It could be really functional, as we need a new product because the entrants, our competitors, have moved into the market with a new product. So it is all driven by solving an issue, but understanding that is really important. But then as we move through, how do we define that in the future? Do we start to then look at how do we build and foster innovation across all of the team? Do we move it out from new product development into others? Can we use it to refine our business practices? So I think this can be a really important one to understand as well. And as a document to have others understand that it will change over time, so that as you're moving and maturing, that you aren't just being asked to do low-level pumping out another product, to be able to show how you can take it to the next level and even show broader impact across the organisation. But you have to have trust before you can move to that. Articulating value, demand it from yourself, and demand, show that you've got a place within the organisation by regularly reporting. Push your information, don't wait to be asked, because I've seen that with a number of innovation managers and other people, that once they've got that information, making sure that it's available and it's there for people to see, that you're visible. And it can be very cleverly, and I've seen some of our clients, one in particular, that is brilliant at celebrating the movement of innovation programs through. So they may have an ideation session where they get everyone to talk about it, and then they can report to the board, not just on those numbers, but next month they're reporting on how many have been progressed into thinking about, or how many have been able to be put to bed because they can show there's no value, and that they've reflected that back to the staff. So you can be pushing that information to make sure that you're there. Again, this point, when you're articulating value, those expectations around time frames, making sure that you're able to be reporting on those so that you're actually hitting the mark, and again, reporting on what needs to be done. And then understand your audience, because you might have a multiple audience. Well, you really will, because you've got your board and direct line of reports. And so, understanding with a board that it is more visual. Don't get into detail and data. It's more visual, being able to show pie graphs and however you want to be able to talk, something that people can consume really quickly, but also understand movement, and that you can report nicely, quite easily every month to. But your immediate reports may actually need more data, because they may be in fighting for budget. And so happy smiley faces and just taking the temperature test and everyone's opinion of what innovation is might be a nice thing from a board level to see, that the culture is changing. but you may need to then put some more rigor and data around what you're doing and numbers of projects and where they're up to, maybe even the amount of money you've been able to save. So just making sure that we're actually reporting and reflecting back our impact into those different audiences is also another area that I know for those out there, it can be really key when we're reporting to the different levels within an organisation. Then tell a story, because innovation and innovation management, working within an organisation, it's a journey. You shouldn't get to a point where it's done, because it's just moving on. You may have different challenges. You'll have staff move. You may have senior executive move. You could have a board member move. So the organisation as a living thing changes, and so it's never set in stone that everyone gets it. Hopefully, you do get a few years and a few headspace of people seeing you move and progress, and then you can build your champions, which is also an important part. So that if there is a change above you, that you've got a couple of champions that understand it. So it's talking about the journey. The destination is never there. So don't talk just about sprint after sprint after sprint. Talk about how these sprints work towards a larger journey. Then this is how you can, I say, create that seat at the table through having innovation as business as usual. And this is one of our challenges, and something that we've spoken to with our innovation managers across Australia in our meetup group, that this is one of their challenges, that right now innovation managers and innovation is, here we go, in these unprecedented times, bingo. In these times, a lot of businesses are actually finding that innovation is how they can move out of it. Doing things differently is one of the areas that may just keep everyone alive. So it is a time for you to have your seat at the table, but if you're reporting the same way as others, that you're showing your impact the same way as other business units, you then start to be seen as a business as usual point. And this is what I think we need to work towards, so that when people go, oh, well, that crisis is over, we can just get back to making what we were. I think it's an important part that we need to be out of there and showing value and on the bottom line, and making sure the company is still around. And then that consistent reporting, showing your value, knowing that you can be able to report on value, because you've now been able to see and capture and understand what others think is value, getting it out there, being able to be reported, being visible, because then people won't see that you're trying to hide. You're not the skunk works sitting in the side that somebody just doing something and I don't understand what they are. They're just people in lab coats doing other things while we just run the business. Making sure that you've got that visibility. So consistent reporting means that you're not hiding. I think that's an important one. So it's a point to keep yourself at, because this again, the closer you align yourself to that business as usual, to the heartbeat of the organisation, the more you can demand that respect, to be able to have budget, to be able to show how you impact other parts of the organisation. So really important. Happy for any questions if they do pop in. Then streamline and focus. This is part of picking your wins depending on the needs. So where you are in the cycle, if you're just starting, or if it's been maybe a crisis point in your organisation, you may need to feel that I need some wins right now. That it may not be the right time to look at doing a huge cultural piece where we will work for 36 months on getting people to understand the importance. You may actually need to pick a couple of winners to get a couple of people on board. It typically can be something that we work with a lot when we're bringing in, when we're working with a new innovation system or a new person into an innovation team, picking those winners so that you can show value. Then the other point is that streamlining and focus is this portfolio approach. Micro investments. It's again, depending on the needs and where you are in the organisation. If you have been lucky enough to inherit, or you've been able to create this mature organisation within the understanding of innovation, then more of them can be larger projects, things that take longer. But if it's not, And I think for always, we should be looking at small portfolio approaches of things that you can do right now. Maybe it's something that you can actually take away a bad part of somebody's job, as well as what can we do to get rid of a part of a process, not just a brand new shiny machine that you've created. I think the portfolio approach and small investments, because you can invest in those things really quickly. Sure, let's just get a new process in place. Let's just get some printing done and see if we can make your process easier. I think those things can be important. Again, monitoring all of your projects that you're actually doing, then assess them. And if they're not working, or if the organisation has had to move, we could use consultant bingo and say if the organisation has pivoted, then you really do then need to look at your projects as well. If something has come into your business, I think it's an important one to always be monitoring these projects, making sure that they're still fit for purpose. Do they still go back to what everyone thinks is value? And then being able to act and say, well, we have to stop this now. We actually, and you can do that because you can show what return on innovation investment is. So you can talk to that project team and say, look, this is now not meeting the requirements of the organisation. When we just say innovation is hard and it's difficult, and when you don't have metrics around it, it's very hard then to go back to that project team and tell them your last 6 months are amazing, but we've got to stop it now because I sort of feel like it. I think this helps to be able to keep everyone on your side by being able to show how there is no more return on investment. We're moving on from that. And I thank you, everyone. And we can celebrate it as what we've found. So that's that point around priorities change over time, really making sure that in your portfolio of activities, every dollar is giving you impact towards making changes and positive changes into the business. So, rationally, if you've only got 50,000 budget, don't have 3-year proof of concept projects. You can't just keep going to the board to say, well, it's a 3-year project and you'll just have to wait, that you'd have to be in a pretty strong position to have 3 years with not giving any impact back to the organisation. So, and it's going to be hard to get any more money if they're only investing $50,000 and they've got to wait 3 years to see an impact. I think I'd rather do the micro investments and have a portfolio approach to actually get that snowball rolling. Then from there, we can actually always be arguing for more. So align, as we've said, overlay the organisation's vision and then bring your innovation activities into that global vision. But more importantly, much more importantly, is this next level of actually then understanding how it aligns at those functional areas within the organisation. Because you could give me $1 for the number of times that I've heard at a lower level that they say, if the CEO says innovation one more time, I'm going to go mad. Because it is great to have it at the overlay, at the organisational level, that you're going to be innovative, but to actually continue to have budget to be around, it has to align to those functional areas because you are competing for their money. So just being able to hide behind the CEO or the board's vision of innovation won't always be able to help you. So being able to sit at that functional level and show how you're helping every one of those functional heads meet their KPIs through your innovation activity is actually the way to be around and to survive, because they're looking at what's in it for me. What does innovation mean to me? So I've got a limited budget, you're taking that from me, so how can you help me? And then align your spend to the phase and the maturity of the organisation. So again, as we've said, don't try and do things that might be pushing your organisation too far. Really have that situational awareness of where is the organisation across it globally, within its maturity, within its understanding, so that you can actually align the spend. It might be that you've got 1 or 2 units that really get this, that they are your champions. Maybe then you focus on them to always keep a base within the organisation who fights for you, that sees the value. Or are you at this point where you've now got to come out from there and start to bring the rest of everyone along on the journey? So making sure you align depending on your maturity, because this can be where innovation managers really can come foul of an organisation, is that they're spending the wrong way for the maturity of the organisation. And there'll be a time when somebody will tap you on the shoulder. So, and then find that alignment from other pools of money. If you're able to show how working with one of the other functional units and that you can actually solve a problem through a hackathon or a challenge, that using your skills, you can find those solutions quicker and easier, then you're aligning that you may only have $50,000 in your budget, but you can actually start to get access to other business units' buckets of money because you're solving their problems, you're meeting them. That's the what's in it for me. And that's how you also amplify and multiply your money. So be interesting to see, are you on target? A really good system does get an effective result. It's making sure we've got some sort of plan. It's always better than just getting out there. Having a plan is so much better than just getting up every day and wondering what we're going to be doing. So that comes to the next phase, our innovation system evaluation. So we've got just a short little evaluation process we're going to step you through. It's only 10 questions. They're all self-assessment. These 10 questions are actually from our much larger 30+ innovation system action plan. And this tool was built through all of our experience working with our clients, as well as aligning it to the international innovation standards. So there's right now ISO is innovation standards being rolled out across the world. So we've aligned these to those so that they really are at the forefront of best practice. And I can see that Jen has just placed the link into the chat. So we'll just wait a second to make sure that everyone's got access to that. All you need to do is open it up in another browser and you can answer along. If, however, you can't, we will be sending this out in an email to you after this event with the recording, and you'll also have access to it there. Just give it a second to make sure that everyone's there. Is there any challenges, Jen?
No, but I just wanted to mention that the responses are anonymous. So if you do fill out this survey, we will not collect your details with that. So your responses will be completely anonymous. It's really for your own reference.
Yep. Yeah. And this is genuinely what we wanted with this is, as you'll see afterwards, if you'd like to chat to us, you have to opt in. We've made it so that it's an opt-in, not just capturing your data. So we've got them here. So if you can't get access, you could at least play along at home in answering them. So hopefully we're all on this process here. So the first question, does your innovation system align seamlessly with the strategy of your organisation? Yeah, so also please call out if anyone is having a problem. I won't labour all of it. It should be easy for most people to answer these. And the point will be, you'll know it. It's either yes or no. You'll know that really quickly. And if you don't, well, then just mark it as an unsure. It shouldn't take you too long to answer this. So does each board member or senior exec understand your objectives and the objectives of that innovation program? As we were talking about before, do you actually provide monthly metrics that actually show the value?
Cam, can I just ask, is monthly the recommended time period for reporting on innovation projects?
I would have thought at a minimum. It would depend though. We would always want to align. So it certainly maybe senior management. I mean, boards, depending on when boards, if they meet monthly or if they're actually meeting a little bit longer period of time than that. But yeah, maybe I think at least monthly, again, that point of being visible. I think maybe quarterly is a little bit too low. There's a lot of time in between that. And there could be just somebody that comes along and says, what the heck do these guys do? And that question sits there for maybe, if it's quarterly, for maybe 2 months. So I like the idea of being able to have this regularly. But again, yeah, great point. It could dialing into what's needed in your organisation. Do you have targets? An important point. You know, having something to aim towards. And that expected return on innovation investment, you know, is it a multiplier? Is it can you actually guarantee or show some sort of expected return for that investment? Making sure that if somebody came and knocked on your door right now, could you show value and expected return on each activity you're doing? And again, stage gate a process, so that if somebody was like, this is fantastic, but do you actually have a stage gate process so you can show where there are areas where you can say go, no go? That just because you've got these projects up there, that once they get past you, they're executed for the next year. I think making sure that we've got some sort of check-in and stage gate process is a much better system. Trialing your idea collection and evaluation. Do you trial different ways to actually get your information? Are there different things that you can be doing? Again, as we talked about, this could be an area that really provides a lot of value to the organisation, because if you're not doing it, maybe 4 or 5 functional units and 3 people in each of those units are running out there and getting ideas, making sure that you're actually a repository of what's a great way to find and uncover good information and evaluate it. This one I think we should at least talk about, because it could be a little bit jargonese, you know, idea validation, taking into account systems thinking. But you know, it's a true point there that all systems, you know, the human body has a response system. It has antibodies, it has responses to impacts, and I think it can be an important one here, making sure that you understand what your system is, and if you know, are there people? I've got a great example of an organisation which were $100 billion turnover, and my client was working with the innovation team. They were doing some amazing innovative products, but they hadn't thought of the system. The innovation vice president thought it was fantastic. What they did was spend 10 years solving that problem. They came along and looked to get their pat on the head, and for that solution to be rolled out across this major organisation, and then it hit the system. They had never spoken to the vice president of operations, and the vice president of operations said, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't like this solution. I don't know how I could actually turn this into an operational solution. And so that's an important part. Do you actually have an idea that, imagine that at the start of that project, at the start of the $30 million that they spent, that have actually asked the vice president, not just of innovation, but of operations, what do you see and what do you need if we actually get a solution? So that's what I mean by the systems thinking. Do you have any way of being able to take account of that? Do you know what your system is? Yes, and there's a great, we'll come to the question, or maybe thank you for the question that's there. We may even look to that in a second. Do you have an established innovation staff training capacity building program? Do you have anything to be able to help bring on and mature your organisation, and not just below, but also above, educating the executive team what innovation is and that impact? Because I could actually turn this into the question that's popped up there in Q&A. Somebody said that what can be said, you know, looking for real dollars and cents on innovation, but there's often intangible gains and they're hard to, you know, to quantify. That is true, but this is where maybe, you know, being able to report on understanding of innovation, reporting on that the executive board understands what innovation is and their maturity level has changed, so that they know it's not just products, that innovation can be building the capability and some of the softer skills that you're asking for, that everyone is starting to see it. It could be so intangibles, like you've taken a really bad job off somebody. We work with an authority that works in wastewater, and one of their innovation programs meant that somebody didn't have to get into that wastewater every week. And so it's a very intangible thing, but for that group of people, you've taken 4 crew that don't have to get into hazardous materials and don't have to get into the hazmat suits to work on it. So being able to report on that, you might be able to report on risk. We've now taken 4 people, 4 staff weekly out of a risky situation. So that might be something. And we could report on maybe that we have lower sick days because of it. And the last one, just so that we don't go over too much, we've got a few here. Do you have a plan to continually review and improve that innovation system as things start to change, as maybe, you know, internal or external environment changes? Do you have to speed up because there's a new threat, a thing that's just happened to the globe, or is it a new entrant into your market? I think that's an important one to make sure. Do you have a process of knowing that you need to speed up, or you're able to look over the horizon? So your results are your results. Once you've finished this, they'll be displayed on your screen once you've answered it. And we've definitely got to say that a score, you know, a score of 8 or below maybe indicates that you've got some improvements within your innovation system. If you've got greater than 8, then, you know, you've got a very well performing innovation system, and well done to you. As we would know though, in a system, having one of those elements not working could be an area of improvement. It's very much, unfortunately, and this is only 10 of our 30 plus that we work on. Unfortunately, you know, a system or this practice is only as good, like a dam. The highest, or the water level is only is as high as the lowest point. And I think that's an important one, that even though we might have 8 or 9, if we're doing badly in those other elements, maybe not. Maybe there's some hidden improvements there that could really help everyone. So there's a call to action there too. So what is next? You do have the option, if you'd like, to then move and progress from there into booking a time to have a chat with me further. That's obviously, that is up to you. I've got my Calendly link there for you all, just to be able to choose a time that suits you, because it really is around taking from no alignment. And I hope this has helped, that if some of you that don't have all of the alignment, or starting to get it right, and you're wanting to start making improvements, more than happy to help and talk to you about that. And thank you. Yes, it is a free consultation, and this webinar recording will be around for 30 days. And that, I thank you. Write down my phone number if anyone would like to have it, or my email. I'm more than happy to hear from anyone if you've got further questions, but you've got the ability to book in, and we can actually have a free consultation. I do thank you. And that is it. Thank you very much. I hope that helped to everyone.
Thank you, Chris and Emma. Hi, Emma.
We'll stay on just for a second, and thank you, just so that everyone's got the links.
And if anyone's got questions for Cam that they didn't get a chance to ask today, feel free to send him an email. He's a very helpful guy.
Oh, and we've got a whole team that can help me answer it too. So we've got a brains trust behind. So yeah, thank you. More than happy if we can add some value and help you. And thank you for taking the time today.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Wonderful. Thanks.